And so you go and you pay to become a member, but you pay for a membership for a day for legal reasons. You're a member. Yeah. And so you go, you pay, you get a locker, or you can like pay even more, you get a room. And you like basically just walk
how much
around.
more do you have to pay to get a guy?
You pay less, actually. They pay you. Like, take this guy off our hands.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
The Handy is leading a sex toy revolution for the dick havers. So you're going to want to get this one wrapped around your cock with free shipping when you use promo code Billy20 at thehandy.com. Dick wipes. Yes, I am telling you about Promescent's new dick wipes. These wipes will help you last longer in bed and take up no more space than a condom. Buy Promescent's new delay wipes today at Promescent, PROMESCENT.com. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to the tops, the bottoms, the lefts, the rights, and that special someone coming up behind you. This is Billy Persida, and you are listening to the Man Whore Podcast. For what is far from the first time in my career, I am coming to you from a McDonald's parking lot in a strange state. We've just got to stop meeting like this, people. Hi, welcome to the show. This week I've got on comedian Calvin Cato. Hilarious guy. Oh my gosh, I've never had so much fun talking about gay bathhouses before. I'm really excited to share our conversation with y'all in a little bit. But first, y'all have been leaving me voicemails on the call-in line, the new call-in line, or at least the temporary, the testing phase of a call-in line for the month of October. Y'all can call in with your comments and questions to 646-580-1351. So I'm going to play a little voicemail from longtime listener, longtime fan whore, longtime supporter, Owen P.
Hey, Billy, this is Owen from Pennsylvania. Just, that I've been following you for several years now, and you've really grown as a wonderful human being and just delivering entertainment and education in a weekly package, and a fine package you've got. So thank you much.
If you want to hear your words, if you want to hear your voice here on the Man Whore Podcast, you can call in yourself. Leave a voicemail to 646-580-1351. You'll see it in the show notes. But do it quick, because we're just testing out this call-in line for the month of October. So if you wait till November, it might not be active. Get it in now while you still can. And I'm always reading and responding to your emails, okay? You send me your advice, questions, your comments on the show, or criticisms about something I said. You can send any and all of that over to manwhorepod@gmail.com. Let's do a fan whore appreciation moment. I love these. This week's fan whore on Patreon I want to give a shout out to is Independent Poppy. All the poppies who independent, throw your hands up, Batman. Thank you, Independent Poppy, for being part of Fan Whore Nation on Patreon. Thanks for chipping in, doing your part to keep me, Billy, an Independent Poppy. So you can show your appreciation, you can say thank you, you can support what I'm doing, just like Independent Poppy, at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. We're doing one of those record short intros this week because I am tired, folks. I gotta get these chicken nuggets inside of me and get some bed. He performs all over New York City. You can't miss this guy. He's been at this game for years and he hasn't aged one bit, and I hate him for it. Let's do a couple ad reads and then we're gonna chat with Calvin Cato. If you're following me on Instagram, you know that my girlfriend recently got an IUD. And so you know what that means, right? Like, you know why we get an IUD. Because we're pulling the condoms, people. Oh my. Fellow penis havers know that can be an adjustment. That's why I am using our sponsor this week, Promescent. Yes, Promescent. They've got their delay spray, and now they have their patented new delay wipes. Promescent's delay technology is amazing and really helps you last longer in bed. I mean it. This shit works. Yes, I enjoy having sex with my girlfriend without a condom now, but like I want to be able to enjoy that sex without the condom for longer. Give your dick more time to do the work you want it to do with Promescent today. Go check out their premium sexual wellness products at Promescent.com. That's Promescent, Promescent.com. And don't forget to let them know who sent you. The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by The Handy. Yes, The Handy, our absolute favorite hand job machine in the game. Frankly, it's my favorite sex toy in my closet. Yes, the hand job is our hand job machine from our friends in Norway. And yes, I have another girlfriend tie-in for you. Check it. I live in Bushwick. I live in like deep Bushwick. My girlfriend lives in a very nice neighborhood in Brooklyn. Okay. She lives on the water. She's got a view. She's actually kind of got multiple views of downtown. She's doing well, but there's no train that directly goes from my place to her place. So sometimes the logistics of hanging out don't really work out. That doesn't mean we can't share a wonderfully hot sexual experience. And that's where the Handy comes into play. Because not only will I send her some pictures and some videos from my OnlyFans archive, but I'll also send her my Handy access code. That way she can control my hand job machine from all the way across Brooklyn. It's amazing. It's great. She can control if it's going to be quick little short strokes at the tip of my dick head or if she wants to do longer, slower, full, meaty strokes of it. Yes, the Handy. You want to get this. If there's a dick involved in your relationship, you want to get it. Okay, if there are two dicks involved in your relationship, you want to get two. And you want to get free expedited shipping when you use promo code Billy20 at checkout. Again, go to thehandy, HANDY.com. Use promo code Billy20 at checkout. Now let's get to the show.
Well, it started out as like casual COVID buddy kind of things, and then it ended up being something where it's still open, which is good. Just because, we're just realistic about things, and it's kind of like, we met during this chaotic time, and obviously because of COVID, it's not like we're both like going out and actively, seeking out other things, but, we want to keep it open to like see other people and stuff. But at the same time, there's still like a degree of like seriousness and commitment there, which is good.
Sorry, as I reverse orientation, forgetting that I am left-handed.
Oh no!
Otherwise, every time I have to make a note, I have to do a severe crossover, close off my body language, like is basketball. I'm in the defensive stance. I'm dribbling over here. But I'm here with comedian Calvin Cato, who I've known for a very long time.
Yes, actually, over 10 years now.
I think you've been hosting open mics for as long as I've been doing comedy.
Yeah. Good Lord, yes. I'm glad I retired from that because that was a fate worse than death.
I remember being in my mid-20s and being at a hostel show and you being like, man, I'm getting too old for this shit. And that was probably like 6 years ago.
And lo and behold, all those shows closed because of COVID. So it's great.
Oh, yeah. It's like I don't even know where to go anymore.
Yeah.
But you know what has stayed like kind of intact and certain is like sex party communities. I know where to go for that still. They're still there. Great.
Oh, yeah. I'm still on the list for a couple of parties. Like there's this.
Oh, you are?
I am. It's so funny. I've never gone. I know.
Oh, Calvin.
I've always been curious. I've never gone. And it's so funny because I've always had a curiosity about it. But either it was like a timing thing, like it would be like I had like work or shows because like some of them are so like there's this one list. I probably shouldn't say too much about it, but basically
you probably should know. Right?
Is it? I have no idea. It's not like super anonymous or anything, or nor is it illegal for that matter. I don't think it was cool. So this one, like, it's like a body positive gay party, and it's like they have like a mix of like bear. No, I think it's just called Bear Party or something like that. I wish it was something clever, like wolves in the dungeon or whatever. But like,
that's the themes. The themes get like that. Wolves in the dungeon would be like a scary but interesting. Fucking 2 months ago, Hacienda had a party called Fucked Up Fairy Tales.
Ooh, I kind of like that. Right? Did you have to dress up too, or was it just like?
I'll be honest, I skipped the party only because I could not think of an outfit worthy of that theme. And if I can't think of a way to at least attempt the theme, I'm like, I don't even want to go. I don't want to be a loser wearing Dockers. I saw there were a couple guys there who looked like they just got off of like Wall Street happy hour, and we all made fun of them behind their backs while we all wore glitter and mesh tops.
That's so silly that you'd be so dressed up, because I feel like that's the whole point of a sex party, really, is to like have fun. Because I've never been to like a formal like sex party. So like at Max, like I used to like, well, seeing this guy is a very loose term, but like I used to hook up with this guy regularly.
Okay.
And he took me to like there's this place called Eastside Club, and it's like one of the old school like gay bathhouses. And so you go and you pay to become a member, but you pay for a membership for a day for legal reasons. You're a member. Yeah. And so you go, you pay, you get a locker, or you can like pay even more, you get a room. And you like basically just walk
how much
around.
more do you have to pay to get a guy?
You pay less, actually. They pay you to like, take this guy off our hands and stop wandering the hallways in the same dirty towel.
Can you take care of Ben?
Yeah. I did do that. I mean, that was an interesting experience. It was weird to be like just naked in a room full of men and like kind of just walk around and window shop, and like the way that works in bathhouses is like the people, if you see a door that's open, like that means that they're open for business. And so if a guy is face up, that means they're a top, or if they're face down, they want to be a bottom. And you just like walk in and do your whatever business.
You just walk in, and if you like the dick you see, you just go for it.
Yeah. And it's like just all eye communication. So you're just like, oh, yep, eyes, yes.
Yeah, but like, what if you got a fucking weird twitch? No, I'm serious. I have a tick where I roll my eye to the top left corner sometimes. I'm like, I don't know what that means in certain sub communities.
Well, you can also nod, you know, it's not just like eyes. Well, I guess it's hard if you're face down, but like usually like if you're face down, you kind of turn around and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Then how does it proceed from there? Or have you not partaken past that point?
Well, okay, so I did. So basically, so you go in, and then once that's agreed upon, you kind of like close the door, and then like, you know, you have a quick discussion at least about like safe sex or unsafe sex. I do safe sex. So, and then you just have sex with that person, and then you just leave and you don't exchange names. Well, you can if you want to, but I ended up hooking up with 3 guys there, and like I got, out of all 3 of them, I got one guy's name.
Like in a day?
Oh yeah, in that like span.
Sick.
Yeah. It was interesting. I don't like, it was fun, but I don't know if it was really for me. And I think it's just hard when it's that anonymous. Like, I don't know. I'm the kind of person where like I watch porn and I still need to see like what the backstory is a little bit. Like I need to know like, oh, okay, like this guy and his stepdad are being weird together, and like the stepdad's like, I married the mom, but I wanted you. Like I need the context or else like it doesn't mean
it's not
anything.
as hot.
Yeah, exactly.
So where'd this like initial curiosity with group sex and sex parties come from?
So it was something I always was interested in. Like, I guess like as I got older and more sexually mature, when I was single, like so I was in like a monogamous relationship for like 2.5 years. And then when I became single, I was just kind of like, I just wanted to figure out like what else is going on. And so I did all the cliche gay stuff. Like, you know, you download Grindr and Scruff and like Daddy Hunt and Mr. X and things like that.
Daddy Hunt.
Yeah.
Oh, the gay apps always have the most intense names. Really? Gay bars and gay dating apps have the most intense names. Like I feel like most of the gay bars like it's like one word and something really intense like Splash.
Yeah. Oh, I miss Splash. That was a fun bar.
Or Cock. Remember the one that's just called Cock, but they won't write the word Cock, so it's just a picture of a rooster on 3rd Avenue. It's like, I know what you are.
I know, yeah. Also, the Cock is one of the woof. Have you ever been in there?
I've been there after it was that, because I think it became something else.
Yeah, sadly the Cock, because I remember the Cock's old space. I remember because this like bouncer tried to bark me off the street one time. This is like before I was really even doing anything. And I was like, excuse me, sir, how dare you?
You're going to get catcalled into a gay bar?
Yeah, like he tried it and I was like, no, I don't do that. No. And then I finally did go in like later on and I was like, oh, this is because the Cock was like, just sex was like just out there.
Really?
Like at least at the old one, like literally, I mean, you like not at the direct entrance, but like by the bar, like you could see like blowjobs happening and you'd be like, oh, okay.
I feel like that's an environment I thrive in, even if I'm not like particularly interested. I'm just like happy open sexuality is happening.
Yes. Honestly, I mean, knowing you and like, I mean, I remember listening to, I think it was like It was on Andrea Allen's podcast, but I remember it was like you two talking about going to a sex party together. And like when I think of the cock, those two stories always like kind of like parallel in my head where I was like, I feel like you two would enjoy it just because it was like so free and so open and like, but still like consensual and fun, like in a way, like, and like that to me was like handleable, even though I wasn't participating in it. I was like, oh, this is cool. Here's my drink. I'm just gonna move this over here so the semen doesn't get in it, and like you're fine.
Yeah, hold on, let me move my chair over, give you some more space.
And like, but it's so funny. So the new cock, it's so weird. So that actually used to be a comedy venue.
They moved the cabin?
Oh yeah. So yeah, they brought the space where cabin used to be.
Okay.
And so now that's where the new cock is, and it was so weird. Cause the last time I went there with a friend of mine, and my friend is very into like a group sex stuff, and I was just going there to get a drink. And so like there's the upstairs, and so the upstairs is like a regular bar, and then the downstairs, which is where the show used to be, was just like a crazy sex party. And I like went downstairs with my friend just to accompany him, and then my friend quickly got lost in a sea of dudes. And at one point I was like, oh, that used to be the stage. And it was like a very like active three-way going on. And I was like, oh, I used to tell jokes there.
It's like, you're like, oh, I've bombed in that spot.
I
That's
know.
so fun. I'm glad you're having fun there. I did not. So how'd you find yourself? Because a lot of people get curious about group sex or sex parties, and they want to know, like, how do I find, like, how'd you find yourself on these email lists?
So that email list, I got on it through a friend, air quotes, who I met on Grindr, and he was very into them. And like we had hooked up like just one-on-one individually, but he kept inviting me to these parties. And at one point he was like, oh, here's the website. Here's the list. You should join the list, and it'll send you information about parties. And like they have parties like Wednesday through Sunday, and so most of them are in Manhattan, but there's like one that happens in Brooklyn as well.
Okay.
And what was really cool is he was like, they're all. It's not just like Chelsea gym bunnies. It's like more focuses on like guys who are hairier or like skinnier or like larger, like kind of bear types or older men and stuff like that, which like I am more into. Like I never was into the whole like perfect chiseled physique kind of nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But you never actually went, and because there were these conflicts.
Yeah, there were conflicts. And then there was one time where I actually was going to go, and I was supposed to meet up with my friend there, but then my friend had canceled last minute, and I felt too weird going alone. Like I think that the thing is like with group sex parties is I would rather go with someone.
Right.
Cause at least then like I just so I have like a base, in terms of
It's
like.
nice to have that safety valve. If you're getting weird, you can go back and find your friend and be like, okay, cool, I'm going to hang out with you for a minute.
Exactly. As opposed to like, I think I would just feel too weird going by myself. And if I feel uncomfortable, then I'm kind of like, I don't know if I just stand by the bar or like, is that weird if I'm just standing by myself? And I don't want to be the kind of person who looks like I'm just observing events.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
I mean, I think for me, I don't want to feel like I'm either being a fraud or a spy. Like, this is such a weird segue. So, the guy I'm seeing, so he has a friend, and his friend does this thing. There's a specific name for it, but it's associated with this like gay group called the Radical Fairies.
The Radical Fairies.
Yes.
Is that the gay mafia?
Like, in fact, the complete opposite.
What is this? Is this like a militant queer group? Is it?
They're not. I mean, they're more like of like a gay artist collective that like there's a lot of like they do like a lot of like just really cool like kind of edgy art. So like it'll be art that like incorporates like dildos or like sex themes.
Are these people who think like the DSA isn't going far enough?
I don't even know what the DSA is.
Oh, Democratic Socialists of America. They're like, Bernie, it's not radical enough.
You know what? Probably I would not be surprised.
Okay. I got an image in my head. That's wild. But yeah,
wild. They're very wild. They're very like super open. What's also really cool is that they're openly accepting of like trans men being in their space, which not a lot, but there are several gay male spaces that still don't allow trans men in it, which is a shame. But like they're very like open about like, we don't care if you're a trans man, if you're male identified, you can be a part of our space. And so like you have this like art, so they put on like art shows, and then they also have like an open mic, so you can just kind of do anything. And then after the open mic, they move to Zoom. So on Zoom, they have this like session where like people just like jerk off in front of each other, like on screen. And so it's like a group jerk off thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is really awesome. And so the guy would attend a couple, but he would feel weird because he didn't participate because he's like, I just feel too uncomfortable like participating. But then he's like, I don't want to feel like people think, oh, are you just being a voyeur? And so that's kind of how I feel about like going to a group sex party by myself. Like I feel too much like, oh, I'm not really, I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm encroaching on your space if I'm not participating.
Mm-hmm. Are you considering still going to a party with the guy that you're seeing?
Yeah, we had talked about it. I don't know. I mean, we're still like trying to be strict because of COVID. So like that's the main reason why.
Have either of you gotten COVID yet?
No, we have not.
I
love that it's yet like it's inevitable.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if we had all done the responsible thing during a certain time frame, I think it would be reasonable to try to still not get it. But now I think, I guess if people are going to be assholes, then you will get it sometime. And if you're vaccinated, you probably won't go to the hospital and you almost certainly won't die. So like the hope is that if you get COVID, it is incredibly mild. Like because at this point, I don't know, like I think the sex parties I've been going to, like a chunk of them have like, there have been positive cases that will show up a few days later. And like, we don't know if like they got it. And these are vaccinated play parties. Like you're showing the bouncer before you even get to check in is checking your vaccination status. So they are taking it seriously. There's not like I forgot my thing, right? They're not playing that. And yet breakthrough cases are still going to happen because fucking science is weird. I can't, that's the weird thing with all this. It's like, why? I'm like, neither of us are I'm not qualified to explain it scientifically. You're not qualified to receive this information scientifically because neither of us took more than the mandatory minimum science classes in college. So why are we even pretending to have this chat? But yeah, like, I mean, like I just got an email today that the party on Saturday, like, some people tested positive. So monitor your health. Yeah. So I don't know, but like, so I'm just kind of in the like, I think it's inevitable. And if you don't have comorbidities, like just get ready to have 10 days off at some point. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Did you, were you always just comfortable? Like just go like, I mean, obviously when things like return to more of a sense of normalcy, like was it just comfortable and free to be like, I'll just go back to sex parties or
COVID related or, you mean
like,
or you're talking about my comfort with group sex or my comfort post COVID?
Like post COVID, you're comfortable with group sex.
I believe in like in vaccinations, and when they say they are going to check vaccinations, and they did check the first party back, they said you had to be vaccinated, but no one asked me for the thing. The second one though, I don't know if people complained or what, but like the second one, yes, there was a bouncer, and that bouncer was a big dude who you didn't want to fuck with, and he was making sure he didn't even let you in the door before they saw that. So there's that. And two, it's like, like I believe science. I believe in this shit. So it's like if everyone in a small population is vaccinated, like I don't think I'm gonna die from that. So, and the people in my life are vaccinated as well. I don't have anyone being an idiot, and I don't have anyone who's like suffering from like an illness. So I've been comfortable in that regard. Mm-hmm. But it can still be an adjustment to switch, just like it was an adjustment to get really tight and strict. It will be an adjustment to loosen back up.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. That's where I come from.
It is. I totally agree. And I mean, for me, like I mean, in general, like, I mean, pre-COVID, I definitely was very like, not like cavalier, but like, you know, I was very like, whatever. Like if I was in a neighborhood and someone like popped up on like an app, and I'd be like, you know what, whatever. If I have enough time, I'll go to their house. But definitely like because of COVID.
if I have time, I could pop over real quick for some dick. Yeah, I got 40 minutes. Yeah.
I was like, I'm between sets. It's fine. Whatever. Who cares?
I'm all about that.
But like definitely because of COVID, I mean, I had instituted a rule in general where I was like, I was only going to hook up with people who I had hooked up with before COVID. Mm-hmm. And even because I mean, like anyone who I hooked up before COVID by that point would be someone who like I had enough of a conversation with where I was like, okay, I know you well enough where I would feel comfortable like asking you, and I'd feel comfortable with you telling me the answer in terms of like, are you hooking up with other people? Or like, you know, how safe are you? Like, are you like out here in these streets? And like, like, cause like there were a couple, guys who like I had in like a kind of, I guess, rotation for lack of a better word, who like I remember there was one guy who had reached out to who I was asking about that. Cause I had like stopped hooking up like like, because the city had shut down March 15th of last year. And I think the last person I hooked up with was like on March 12th. And it was someone who I actually like had gone on a couple of dates with, but he lived in Philadelphia. So obviously, like, when everything shut down, I was like, well, there's no traveling. Like, that's not going to happen. But in the meantime, like, I actually like went through like a period of like, this is the longest like period of like celibacy I had in a while. So like I went like 4 months. I think 4 months. And like hadn't done anything. Like at best I was like, I would chat with people and then I'd be like, okay, this is great, but whatever, we're just going to chat. I'm not going to actually meet up with you. And then when I finally was like, okay, I'm going to see, I was still trying to be as safe as possible, but like, you know, we all have needs. Yeah. It's hard when you're like cooped up alone.
How long did it take for you to go out of your house or let someone into your house for dick?
So I had hooked up with someone in like mid-July. That was the first time. And I went over to their place, but that was like, we had literally been talking like daily. Yeah. To a point where like, it was like established. We both knew we weren't hooking up with anyone. So we finally were like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to be safe, mask and everything. But I never seen that when I got to his place. Yeah. But that was the first time I did it. And even then, like, it honestly just felt so weird. Yeah. Cause it was such an adjustment to go from like, you know, air is poison and like you shouldn't even see other people. And even though we knew each other and like had all these conversations, it was still so bizarre. And what was interesting was that it was less about sex and more about like actual like cuddling. Like we just spent a lot of time just like touching each other more so than we did with like actual like having sex.
Because you were missing intimacy and like physical touch.
Yes.
Because you went months without it.
Yes.
That's bonkers.
Yeah. It was wild. And it was such an interesting experience to happen. And then like slowly, like I slowly got like more comfortable enough to like, there was another person who like lived much closer. And so I met up with him once. And then the guy I'm seeing now is who like it was actually someone new who I didn't talk to at all before. But like we just had a great conversation and hit it off, and then like things like worked out.
What was that first like physical intimate encounter like, to be held, to be touched? I don't know what fondling did or didn't happen, but just like to be physically with somebody.
I mean, honestly, it just felt so like magical, and it was so like freeing. Because for me, I mean, I was in an apartment by myself. I didn't have roommates or anything. So even like
that bed bug space, that all happened during
COVID?
No,
that was before COVID, okay, thankfully. Cool. Sorry, so that was before COVID. And then but during COVID, so I was like living basically in this downstairs space by myself. I mean, it was like a separate apartment and everything, but like I'm still by myself. And it's like I was used to living in studios. So like to live in a full one bedroom, I mean, I don't know how many listeners you have, but like as a New Yorker, that's rare when you're like, oh, I have rooms. Like, yeah. But also it's rare when you're like, oh, I have rooms by myself. And, you know, you could still chat, like, you know, you can still have like, you know, sex chats or like phone sex or whatever, but it's just not remotely the same when you're still like, okay, and then I'm done and I am by myself. Or even like talking with just friends over Zoom. Like you do that, but then you're like, okay, and this is done and now I'm just by myself. And, you know, like I wasn't working because like there was no work. So like you have an endless stretch of days just by yourself. And so it was nice, like that first touch. It was nice, because it was the first time where I was like, oh, this is something that's scheduled that's outside of my house that doesn't involve like grocery shopping, you know, like it was like I'm just scheduled just to like see someone and meet them and whatever happens. And so I think that the first feeling of being touched was just so nice because it was just such a like an instant level of intimacy where you're like, wow, this is so nice.
What was the first touch? Maybe beyond the initial like a handshake or hug, if like when you first see each other, but like what was the first like purposeful touch to wear from what?
Oh gosh.
This isn't even like a raunchy question in my opinion.
No, it's not.
Because this could be a hand on a thigh.
I'm thinking about it both with the first guy I had hooked up with versus the guy I'm seeing now. And so with the guy I'm seeing now, I remember it much more clearly because with the guy I'm seeing now, that was the first time I had met up with someone who I had not had previous contact with before. And I remember we ended up, so the first time I went over to his place and we sat on his couch and we actually talked for like, must have been like 3 hours or something. So we talked for 3 hours, and then at one point I had like put my arm like on the couch, and then he like put his hand like on my arm. And it sounds so weird, but there was something that was so electric about it because it just felt like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this.
That's not weird at all.
Yeah. But it was just so like nice and friendly, and it was cool because it was like, okay, like you're a new person I'm letting into like this like very limited circle that I have, and like you're being like actively like nice and friendly, and there wasn't anything aggressive about it. It was more just a like, I'm just letting you know that I'm here, and like we can. And in general, like throughout the conversation, like when things started to get more sexual, he was like, you know, this is weird for both of us because this has, you know, been such a limited experience. So he's like, you know, I want you to know, like, you know, feel free to like tell me what your limits are, or like if you do or don't want to do things. And so it was just very nice. And it was also very nice to just even have that conversation, because I feel like even pre-COVID, like I don't know if I was necessarily having those conversations in a direct way. Mm-hmm. So it was such a like very charged, almost romantic moment, even though like I knew we were both there for sex. There was something that felt so much more personal about it, and it felt so much more less about like just gratification and more about like, let's just make a connection. Like it was like kind of like a real date that had sex, obviously, but
it kind of mimics that chart when you're having a first date where it's clicking, like, you know, it's going well, like, you know, whether you're getting drinks or you're in the park, and you know the connection's happening, you know there's mutual interest, and you know at some point y'all are gonna, like, you know, when it's like, I know we're gonna kiss, I don't know when we're gonna kiss,
yeah,
and I know there's gonna be like that first time like someone puts a hand on a thigh or touches a shoulder, that it is electricity.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some sort of like scientific thing I could say of like neurons or whatever, but like, yo, it's fucking electric the first time someone you're into, that you know are into you, touches you. Mm-hmm. It could be a hug, it could be a hand, it could be grabbing your balls, but like it's electric. It's the first touch. Each touch after it will not nearly be as electric as that first touch. But I think couples that were long distance, or maybe like people who like were regular fuck buddies who had to like put that shit on ice or whatever, people who moved away temporarily and to go. So people who like are reconnecting now with like these folks who they've been, you know, they've done all the sex shit with, and yet they had this huge lapse of time.
Yeah.
Or maybe they hung out together but didn't touch because they were being extra safe and cautious. Now they're finally doing that first. So they're kind of getting to have that first touch again.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It is. It's honestly, it's really cool and magical. And it's also something that like, it makes it feel more valuable. Like there's something more tangible about it now versus back then, where it's kind of like, because I mean, pre-COVID, even though yes, like, you know, even if it's a fuck buddy for reasons, I mean, I can only speak for myself. Yeah. I mean, I know it's true for other people, but like for me, like usually like fuck buddies happen more so, or even like fuck buddies, you become more like friendly on a friendly level. Like I know that at the end of the day, a lot of it's just a matter of time. Like I just don't have enough time, because I'm like running around doing this, running around doing that, like, you know, shows or work or life or whatever. And so there's something, but I feel like because of COVID and because everyone was forced to be on lockdown, it kind of made you value your time more. So then when you have those like first touches again with someone, it's such a conscious like, no, like I'm inviting you here because I want you to be here, or like I'm touching you because I want to touch you. Mm-hmm. It feels less of like oh, you're a warm body, and more of a like, this is a conscious presence.
And now that we've been like really sweet and everything, what was the first fuck like?
With him, it was very good actually. It was, I think it was nice because it was like a mix of like, he was very like confident about things, but also very like deferential in a way, because he's older, and I find that that's true. I found this to be true with like older lovers, is that they're much more like patient, and they're much less about like, okay, let's quickly get to the orgasm, and more about like, I want this to be like a good experience. And, you know, I feel like older men tend to be like, I know what I want, obviously, but I also know that it won't be as pleasurable for me if you don't get what you want as well. So I want to make sure that like I take things slow and like take things at your own pace, and kind of like, even though I'm like driving, I want to make sure you have the option of like changing the route if you want.
Oh, that's dope. That's how much older?
A bit older.
Also, like you're, if I remember correctly, you're like way older than you look.
Yes,
right?
I am.
Right. Yes.
Well,
another thing I learned at that hostel.
Yes.
Show. I remember being like, I think you told me, and I forgot what it was, but I remember being like, whoa.
Yes.
I look like shit.
I am in the top of the mid-30s now. So like
you're an elder millennial.
I am. I am now, apparently, according to fucking
Eliza
everything.
Schlesinger.
And TikTok especially reminds me every day.
Well, TikTok's just full of millennial hate speech. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't appreciate it.
It
very
really
much.
I feel like every TikTok video is like, remember the song from the 90s? It was so stupid. And you're like, but you're dancing to it right now. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway.
Do you normally dig older dudes?
I tend to like
Because you're at an age where like going older at some point is going to start being like less functional.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I'm like reaching like the upper limits, I think. Like, and now I'm just kind of like, I guess now I just get older until I meet up to that age. So like this guy, he's in his 50s.
Okay.
But he's very sweet, just very nice. And like, it's funny because there are ways where like, if you were to meet him, he's very like quiet and unassuming. But he's like very like dynamic in other ways in the bedroom, which is very fun. So,
Yeah.
And I do have to be careful because he had a kidney transplant. So because of that, he's like immune compromised. So like that's another reason as to why like I try to be very careful with like meeting up with people and like, you know, I like communicate with him if like I'm gonna like see someone else and like he knows and I'm like, listen, like I'm gonna see someone. But it's also kind of one of the good things is that like I've never been in like a real open relationship before. I've been in more of like kind of friends with benefit situations or like things that are just messy and complicated. And like one of the things I like, at least for the time being, who knows? I mean, I shouldn't say this. Shit can blow up anytime, anywhere,
yes,
as you know, as we all know. Like, but I like that there's so much more honesty and like, and he's seen someone else. And like, but it's like nice that like we're honest about it. And like, in terms of like, look, like, cause we set boundaries in terms of like, you know, I don't necessarily need to know like, you know, the dossier, but it's like, I ask that like you take these safety precautions and cause I don't want to police you. Cause I also realize like, I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't want to be policing your entire life. I don't want to be like, your dad or your security guard. Like, I don't want to be your parole officer. Like, I don't need you to check in with me. I just need you to value my health. And like, I do the same with you. So
it's something I've been talking with my girlfriend about because she's new to non-monogamy, but surprisingly stellar at it thus far. It's kind of great. She's probably better and more communicative about it than other women I've dated who have read the books or done the podcast, right? And I'm like, what, you did no research and you're just doing this?
Yeah.
Fuck. And I keep having to remind her because she's like big on this, like the whole truth, nothing but truth, like tell all the things. And I go like, it's like, I don't want to micromanage your sex life.
Yes.
It's not that like, I don't want to hear things but I just don't need to police what you're doing. I don't need to say who you can fuck and how and when, and how you can talk about each and every. It's like, we'll figure it out. You'll break a couple eggs. I'll break a couple of your eggs. There will be moments where people feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And if we are emotionally mature people who seem ready to like come to each other with grace and compassion, we can share when something felt icky. But yeah, like I don't want to micromanage who she fucks. And you know, the only thing I ask is like, don't fuck comics without talking to me first.
I mean, that's fair for any sense of, no.
I don't want someone to come out in a roast battle that I didn't know about, you know? Like what if we got beef? I don't fucking know, you know? And then there's only one comic I've just said like, and I'm already going to say like, I know this will seem weird, but just don't fuck him. Yeah. And, and I like him. He's a nice guy, but I'm like, if you fuck him, I will feel uglier by proxy. Yeah. And so just don't do it. And I showed her a picture. She's like, how? I was like, he's very charming.
I really want to know. I mean, I guess off air, but
I mean, I'll tell you. That has been he has been my boundary in relationships since I've started having a girl. The first time I had a girlfriend at 25, what were my boundary rule requests? Talk to me before you like fuck comics. Just check on that because those are my coworkers. And please don't fuck. And I knew I needed to put that in place when I took her to an older ex. I took her to Comedy Fight Club.
Yeah.
And I saw him like saw the moves, and he fluctuates. So sometimes he actually looks much more fuckable than not. So I'm just like, but please don't.
Yeah.
And every girlfriend I've had since that I have named and said, please just don't fuck him. I like him. He's funny. That I already know.
I understand that completely. That is fair. That is very, very fair. Oh. He also is weirdly charming. I will say that.
Right?
Yes.
I'm like, I see it. Like the way I've seen him like talk to her, I go like, oh, you pull tail that you should not get.
Yes.
And I see why, especially when he's like mildly taking more care of himself. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's good for him, but please not mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is a beautiful thing because I think a beautiful part about non-monogamy and a loving relationship is the freedom to go do those things and go try that stuff and the freedom to do it without having like ask first or check first, right? It's like, go do the thing. Come talk back. If it was kind of icky for me, I'll tell you, and it's not the end of the world. Yeah. And we try, it's all good. I also like the freedom to not do things.
Yeah.
If she at some point starts feeling like not sure how to navigate like seeing other guys or not seeing other guys without romantic attachments, she can have that freedom to also not fuck other people for a while, which I sometimes take. I like to sometimes I'm not feeling super horny. My libido's low and I choose not to have a lot of other sexual partners or any others.
Yeah.
And I just think that's like a beautiful thing to do with non-monogamy. So it sounds like this guy, it's been a year and 2 months. So like you keep saying, casual COVID buddy or, guy I'm seeing, but like, it sounds like he's a boyfriend.
Yeah, I guess.
He sounds like a boyfriend.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Do you not like that word?
I mean, I do. It's...
I'm sorry, is commitment a scary thing?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because, I mean, basically, yes. And, like, we did have this talk. It's funny. I feel like he is, like, a little bit, or sometimes he gets more hesitant about the label than I do. Okay. But I think it's weird, but I also just think it's weird because I haven't used that label in so long that I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess this is, like, we do say it is a relationship for, because it is. Sure. Like, but yeah, I mean, I guess technically, yes. I just want to jinx it in case like this podcast comes out and then we break up and then
it's been over a year. Like, I feel like you got through like the introductory period.
Yeah.
You got through those first few months.
Yes, that's true. I know. And it's fine. But I literally don't know. I mean, who knows? Like, things are opening up more and more. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? But
it sounds like there's some foundation there. Yes, I hope you can have some confidence in whatever it is that's going on. Was the last boyfriend,
yes,
to use that ugly word, was the last boyfriend the monogamous thing you said?
Last serious one, yeah, it was like a monogamous thing, and then like there were like things that were like more non-starters than anything else.
Sure, yeah. But the last serious like romantic relationship, the last boyfriend was that guy, and you said it was like 2.5 years monogamy.
Yeah, 2.5 years, and it didn't end well. Well, yeah, it didn't end well.
What does not well mean?
Well, it was just because part of it was that like it started off. So we met in New York, and we were like having a relationship in New York, and then it turned long distance rather abruptly. And it was something where like I had never been in a long distance relationship, but I knew for myself that like I don't think long distance is a relationship I can handle, and it just unraveled from there. Sure. And I think that I was also very young in that relationship, and so I didn't fully know how to communicate my resentment about certain things. And so I think I would just let things build up and then it would be too late.
How old were you when that relationship ended?
That was,
because you said young.
I was like 26.
You went a decade without like a solid romantic relationship. And like, is that easy for you? Is that something that fucks with you?
I mean, I think as I got older, I got more ready for something more romantic. And I think that when I was in that relationship at the time, like it was actually very useful for a lot of reasons. Like it just helped me to come to terms with being queer and like coming out. And I think that stuff was very necessary for me. But then after all, I kind of outgrew that relationship. And then like because I was like newly like much more out, I wanted to really just explore sexually more. And so I think that I did need a number of years to just figure that out and do that. But then, as I explored more, the more I realized I was like, okay, I had a lot of fun, but I'm ready for something that's at least more committed, or like, even if it's not necessarily like a solid, like monogamous relationship. You know, I want something that's much more of a stable, like, okay, like someone who I see every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, or like someone who I can like actually like chat with about things or like get advice from and things like that. And that was something I realized I hadn't built. So like I just kind of had more of like a stable of guys who I knew I could have sex with, and even guys who I knew I could be friendly-ish with, but like no one who I really could share a life with, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. I asked that just because part of the reason I started the show is because like women would sleep with me and they wouldn't date me like in my early 20s and in college and such. So I was having like sexual success, but I wasn't having romantic success. And at some point I was starting to question like, am I not lovable?
Yeah.
And then that was starting to become like a thing. So I didn't know if that like when you go a certain amount of time without at least like a decent romantic connection or loving connection, to be a little more inclusive to the fucking RAs out there. Y'all love to fucking, you need a who needs fucking love and whatever. I do.
Yes.
I need love. I need someone to love me back.
Yes.
That's like, so yeah, no, I didn't know if that, did anything.
No,
But some people
honestly,
some people also get comfortable just being single.
Yeah.
A lot of straight women in their late 30s just be like, get kind of resigned to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they kind of just accept what is closest to emotional, and it will be like some good dick that like isn't a piece of shit because the bar is that low.
It really is, though. Oh, and trust me, in the gay world, it's also pretty low too.
Yeah, the common denominator just seems to be dudes. I don't know.
It really is.
It seems to be.
Yes. And I shouldn't say that because I know, like, I mean, I feel like any lesbian friends who are going to listen are going to be like, no, like, I mean, I know there are lesbians who are just as whorish and are just as like commitment phobes or are willing to, whatever, or lie and manipulate and et cetera, et cetera. But for me, like, I was having a similar issue where I felt like after a while, I was kind of like, okay, I know that there are guys who like to have sex with me, and I know that there are guys who like to have sex with me and find me entertaining, but it was hard to find a guy who wanted to really be with me. Mm-hmm. And like, for example, case in point, so earlier that guy I mentioned going to that bathhouse party with. Yeah. It was just like, I mean, honestly, in general, it was just a really like unhealthy sort of like relationship, for lack of a better word. I mean, I wouldn't even call it an official relationship. It was just an unhealthy connection that we both had, because he was engaged to someone else and like it was open, but like how open it was really not clear, and that was a very gray area, and I didn't really care for it, the fact that it was so great, because I wouldn't have minded if it was like open in terms of like everyone was on board with stuff, but like the fiance didn't know who I was, he didn't know about me, which like was a problem, because I was like, well, then this isn't really open, if like that's what you're saying. And based on the parameters that he had said, I was like, well, if based on these parameters, like I hang out with you too much for this to be a real open based on your rules. Yeah. And it was one of those things where like it would just be slowly dawn on me where I was like, oh, like he had fun being around me and like, and would have fun having sex with me, but he would not actually want to be with me. And it was something that just, makes you feel like shit when you're like, what is it that I'm missing? Or also like, what is it that like, I mean, it took me a while in therapy to be like, oh no, there's something that's clearly wrong with him, and it has nothing to do with me. But you don't know these things, and when you're not going to therapy, you're not figuring that out.
Mm-hmm. And so the boyfriend who's not a boyfriend but is totally a boyfriend, like if you had your druthers, is this someone you see like being something more committed, or is this something that's you feel is more of a comfortable COVID relationship?
I mean, I guess, well,
assuming he's not a listener.
Yeah, I know. Well, I hope not. I very much hope not. But
is it good? Do you date guys who like sometimes want to listen to all the things that you do or not, or no?
Although weird enough, he has started listening to like other things I've done, and I'm like, oh dear. And like, back when I was doing more shows over Zoom, he actually surprised me by coming to one of the shows. I didn't know until like
coming to one of the shows, which he logged on to.
I know, yeah. He took the internet. He went on the superhighway. But like he surprised me, and like I wouldn't have even noticed, because like I was planning to like do some jokes about him, like whatever. And I mean, not that that's like even really a problem, but I just get cagey about shit when I talk about like people I'm fucking. And I like happened to look at the Zoom, and I was like, wait, your name is on here. And so I texted him. I was like, what are you doing tonight? And he was like, oh, nothing. Why? And I was like, because your name is clearly in this fucking thing.
Have y'all done the I love yous?
No, we have not.
Do you feel
that sounded aggressive, but
like I accused you of something? Like, I didn't murder him, and I don't love him. Do you feel the thing?
I mean, I definitely feel like a deep emotional connection with him. I guess that's love. I definitely feel a lot for him, and like we had to have like conversations about like talking about like, you know, I mean, as it is, we did have a talk about like how serious this is, because I mean, I had to be like, listen, like we're like, we see each other every week, we have sex every week, we see each other for an extended period of time, because like either I'll go over to his place or vice versa, and like we'll stay over for a couple days. So I'm like, this is, you know, this isn't a fuck buddy situation anymore. So and he acknowledged that finally, because he was still in a like weird phase of like, well, you know, like it's still kind of casual. And I was like, I'm not saying that like I want you to stop sleeping with other people. I'm saying that this is a relationship.
Like we are not acting, and I don't think feeling casually about each other.
Yes.
So like emotionally, can we acknowledge that?
Exactly.
I wonder if there's like any like anxiety when you're getting up into that like heart attack eligible age, you know, like that 55 and above, and you're just like, well, like then any one committed relationship in theory could be the last.
I know.
more likely than before, and then it's like, well, is this the one that I would want to die with?
Yeah.
Like, is this the one I want to widow?
It's so funny because I mean, I hope not. And I feel like this is true with a lot of like older gay men who I've tended to date, is that like a lot of them came out at an older age and then were in relationships for far too long. So like this guy, he was in a relationship for 15 years.
With a man or with a woman?
With a man.
Okay, yeah.
And it was, and like, you know, it serves its purpose, and it's also different because I mean, if you think about, you know, being out and queer like 20 years ago, the options weren't the same as they were today, because I mean, even being out 20 years ago was, you know, left you liable to all forms of discrimination and danger and like all kinds of like, you know, discrimination in terms of housing discrimination or like discrimination in terms of like medicines and stuff like that. And so like, I know, and this has happened with like other older men who I've hooked up with as well, where like a lot of them like kind of like came out and immediately got into a relationship because they're like, oh, you're gay and I'm gay, so we're going to be gay together, without fully understanding like, yes, being gay is not enough. Like we need to be compatible on this level and compatible sexually and compatible like in terms of like where we want to grow to and things like that. And so I know that he's in that phase where he like got out of that relationship and is very like, I just am not ready to be in something that serious and committed again, because it was so limiting, especially towards the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something I do, which is something I can empathize and understand with, because I know, I agree, again, the relationship I was in was only for 2.5 years. But I mean, I remember feeling very confined emotionally and like, and sexually, like things were not as adventurous as I would have liked, which then makes things, you know, stale and, you know, you're not as satisfied.
Sure. But now you think you're still going to hit up one of these parties?
I mean, I still might.
We're going to run into each other at some point?
Maybe. I don't know. I'll go. I mean, I feel like I've seen some like mixed ones where I'm like, I would go to that. I would probably just have to
mixed
find
as in like, what do you mean?
Or queer, but like mixed in terms of like not
like they
just
let straight people in, which is really nice of them.
Yeah, exactly. Which is very charitable because Jesus Christ. But like, you know, or for example, like, you know, I know House of Yes, for example, has like ones that are like mixed in terms of like all sexualities, as opposed to ones that are strictly like, you have to be just a gay man or you're just straight.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Even the one I go to, like Hacienda, is pretty like queer informed, queer inclusive. Yeah. I would say like I definitely see more queer women and AFAB folk than I see like queer dudes. But like, yeah, there's like, you know, it's definitely a party where you know, when I met an ex-girlfriend at a Hacienda and like that night, like I was lying down and she was blowing me, and next to me on the mattress was a dude and he was getting blown by a dude, and it's just like, this is what's up.
See, and that, honestly, like there's something just really beautiful about that. Like I'm like, that's fun.
Some dudes will go, some straight guys will get really weird with me and go like, well, you fuck, that doesn't, I'll be like, I don't know, I'm really distracted by the woman sucking my cock. I'm not really like watching the dudes very much. Like I might glance over and be like, that's interesting, but you know, like it's not, it's like if you're focusing on the dudes blowing each other, that sounds like something for like you and your therapist to unpack. Calvin, where can people go find you?
Oh, so my website
besides
is...
various gay male sex bars, I don't know, in New York City.
So I'm now things are open. I'm performing all around New York City, and like I was doing several like pride and like LGBTQ related events. But like if you go to calvincato.com, CalvinCato.com, that should have a listing of like dates and stuff. And then I'm also on Instagram at Calvin S. Cato, as well as on Twitter at Cato Calvin, and on Facebook. Unfortunately, fuck Mark Zuckerberg, but I was on Facebook like in 2005 when the earth first cooled. And I'm on Facebook. So yeah, just find me there, and I have my stuff listed and whatever.
Sick. Yeah. Well, everyone go check that out. And Calvin, thanks for chatting with us. Why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
All right. Goodbye, fuckers.
Very aggressive at the end. People were thinking, like, he sounds like a really sweet boy. Whoa. Fuckers.
I like to switch it up, you know. It's about sexual adventurousness, okay? You gotta surprise people, keep them guessing.
Well, what did you think of that? Oh, hold the thought. Hold it. Now go on over to manwhorepod.com/Discord. Hold that thought. Okay, head on over to the episode discussion channel. Yes. Now throw that thought down. Yeah, come on. Come join Fan Whore Nation in the Champagne Room, our super awesome, super free, super sex positive Discord server where you can connect with your fellow fan whores about a variety of topics, including this week's guest, Calvin Cato. Do you want to hear your thoughts or hear your comments on the podcast? Oh, great. You can call in right now and leave a voicemail at 646-580-1351. I just may pick yours to play on the show. And maybe you want to hear your thoughts and your words on this week's episode, but you don't really want to hear your own voice. That's okay. Shoot me an email, manwhorepod@gmail.com. Oh, have you not heard our bonus episodes? Yeah, I got over 200 bonus episodes of the Man Whore podcast with like pretty much all of your favorite guests. If you have a favorite guest, they probably have a bonus episode available on Patreon. And, you know, not only do you get access to all that, you're also supporting the podcast. You're supporting me as I sit in random parking lots of McDonald's in Massachusetts just for you. So again, join up today, support the pod you love at Patreon, Patreon. Oh my God, that's a raccoon. .com/manwhorepodcast are my everything locked. Yo, that shit just jumped into that garbage. Whoa. Okay. I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm a city boy. I'm not a nature boy. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Oh my God, it's out again. Okay. Just leave me alone. I don't want any trouble. I'm not here for your shit. Okay, everybody, stay safe, stay away from the raccoons, and stay slutty. Dogecoin to the moon? Ready to buy the dip? Start investing in cryptocurrency today with Coinbase. And you can get $10 worth of Bitcoin for free after signing up at manwhorepod.com/crypto. Come on, how much longer is this fiat thing gonna last?